Good great afternoon to you. It's your girl Keely. This video is a special request for the individual who asked me how best do they protect themselves, as they've recently understood that they're an empath, and in terms of discovering this insight, they've realized why life has been so difficult, why intimate relationships have been painful, even work relationships. And I guess as an experienced psychotherapist, one of the things I'd say about empaths is I think we actually live in a society that doesn't value kindness. I think we live in a society that doesn't appreciate people who have a sensitive way of being. And I do believe that the helping professions is one of the most underpaid fields when you compare it, when you compare it to other fields. So basically I'm really saying that I don't think our society values people who have a kind empathic nature. And often, if you're not careful, people will take your kindness for weakness. And so for empaths, one of the best ways to protect yourself is boundaries. So that's like the basics, making sure you have boundaries. But the challenge with boundaries is if you're someone who's prone to feeling highly guilty, then you're going to be overcome by guilt, and then you're going to potentially not honor your boundary because the guilt is so overwhelming. And so, I think we all know I trust we know the importance of having a boundary. Boundaries also need consequences. So if you say to somebody, listen, that's not acceptable to me, but there also needs to be a consequence, that can be very difficult because sometimes we're too soft for our own good. And as you journey through life, if you're an empathic person, if you're a highly sensitive person, life can get very difficult. By the time people get to me as a psychotherapist, it's usually because we've become depressed and sad. And it was only recently I was speaking to my coach and saying that, look, my clients are basically empaths, and so for my empaths who often can end up in difficult relationships, it's not always, but I think it's important, that you understand that you will also be you have to be careful about being with very selfish people who take your kindness for weakness. And learning how to protect yourself is your responsibility, because if not, people will leech from you and they will drain you. And one of the things I know as a psychotherapist is I see it time and time again. I see the physical symptoms that people have either gone to the doctor for, and doctors can't find anything wrong. So a range of physical symptoms also seem to impact. Grinding teeth. So it will mean that a lot of my clients have been to the dentist and been offered gum shields. IBS is also another one, irritable bowel syndrome. And I often liken that to emotional constipation. Often empathic people can hold so much in, and well, if your emotions aren't released, well, where does that go? It only goes on you. So that's one of the reasons why IBS is often a common medical issue that comes up in therapy, as well as mouth ulcers, cold sores, high blood pressure. These are all very important signs, physical signs, that actually may well have manifestations in psychology, in the way that you think. And I think one of the things that is of the utmost importance for empaths, and people often talk about boundaries, but one of the qualities that I think we really need to look at is our optimism and our hopefulness. Because often our optimism and hopefulness is really key to us staying in very difficult circumstances. And if you are living in hope that one day things will change, or you have a good day, someone's kind, or they're considerate, or they're nice, and then you kind of cling to that in a hopeful way, that it's a symbolic of change, then often we're setting ourselves up for problems. And I think that is one of the biggest factors I see frequently with my clients who are empaths, is hopeless hope. And the hopeless hope often keeps us stuck in situations that don't work for us. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'll gladly answer them. But this is just some words of wisdom that, I thought I would share based on the request. But that is, I think, is one of the most important things, because when we can stay in reality, it is, and pull ourselves back when we notice the optimism is kicking in, get back into reality. That is key. Because often the reason why we can stay in hopeless situations is because we're always optimistic. We're always looking for things to happen. And sometimes we might even be wanting people to save us, and people won't save us. We have to learn to save ourselves, because often people may well be benefiting from your selflessness. And, yin and yang, selflessness and selfishness kind of complement each other from an abstract perspective. Selfishness and selflessness. So you often have selfless people, unless they're woke or they've been hurt enough, will often have a range of selfish people around them. And I think the reason why I'm such an advocate of boundaries, staying grounded in reality, not fantasy, is because when you start to get real about the reality of your situation, once we start to lose all that optimism and hoping things will change, you then have to start to make choices to protect yourself, and sometimes that might mean we no longer go to certain places, we no longer see certain people anymore, because it's not good for our energy. In fact, it's not good for our niceness. So these are some of the factors that are actually for us to think about, for us to consider. Now, if you're interested in any of my work around empaths and how I help empaths, I have a course coming up in July called Pain into Purpose. Because, well, the reality of why I've created my online course is because that's been my journey. I've taken my pain into purpose. And yes, I am an empath, and I know exactly how to best protect myself, because I know how precious my energy is, and I know that the wrong people can consume my energy. And I don't need that, because I need my energy for my own greatness, to pursue my own ambitions and to unfurl my own potential. So that's one of the things. Another thing that, empaths have to be careful of, our energy. Because if our energy starts to get channeled in the wrong direction, then, it's taken away from thinking about ourselves. It's taken away from other more interesting, fruitful pursuits. So you have to conserve your energy, empaths. And I would also encourage you to be mindful about where you place yourself. Sometimes we want to keep people happy, and people pleasing is another problem for us, because we put everybody first. So if you put everybody else first, then you're going to come last. Not good for your sister, not good for your brother. And learning to say no and learning to sit with guilt is also another profound skill. If this may be of interest to you and you want to learn more about my course, Pain into Purpose, then feel free to inbox me. In addition, and hopefully I can find it here, I've also written the Empaths Self-Protection Guide, because for way too many of us, we are just not good at looking after ourselves. If anything I said here has resonated with you and you'd like to talk or find out a little bit more about me, then feel free to go to my website. Hey, Sejao, how are you? It's your girl, Key for Change, in the place to be. Lovely. Oh, I got 2 waves. Oh, look at my waves. Oh, look at that. I got my crew. Any questions before I go, ladies? This is just a little quick live, a special request from someone. As I said, I have my Empaths Self-Protection Guide that you can download. One of them, I've got a free download, and I've also got the Empaths Guide, because I think, my new focus, my new mission with lockdown and having time to consolidate my work is really just what I've been doing, is looking at the trends and who are the people I serve. The people I serve are empathic people who just, will understand cognitively. We will understand about boundaries. In our heads, we will understand about the importance of saying no. In our heads, we will understand that we need to look after ourselves and self-care. But the truth of it all is there is a gap between knowledge and behavior. And the gap between knowledge and behavior is where I really help people to assimilate and to honor what you know through your behavior. Because if you don't honor what you know through your behavior, you're going to have inner conflict. And that's when, worst case, if you beat up on yourself, if you have a harsh inner critic, it's not going to be pretty in your head. It's not going to be pretty in your head. And the reality is, that there can be a war in your head. And, how long that goes on for can be very detrimental to your own well-being. So, and I'm sure you don't want these wars in your head. It ain't good for you. It's not great for you, because there's a potential in you that wants to be nurtured and flourished. Just as I continue to nurture my potential, I often think about the energy that I used to waste on trying to either change people or living in hope that other people would change. And once I freed myself from that, realizing the only person I can change, and we've all heard this, but often you got to be careful of hope. You really have to be careful of hope. Too many of us are living in hope, and the years are passing by, and there is a consequence to that. Potentials in you do not get flourished, and it's one of the reasons why empaths are highly prone to being depressed and having what they now call mental health challenges. So it's your girl Key. I'm here. Feel free to inbox me if there's anything I've said that's resonated with you. Additionally, if you'd like to talk to me, go to thekeyforchange.com, where you can schedule a fact-finding call. I'm here for my empaths. You're my crew, you're my tribe. I'm here to be of service to you, to help you navigate and best protect yourself. Remember, when you're people-pleasing, it also means you're self-displeasing. Now, obviously, culture comes into that, but we have to watch out how much we're bending. Yes, we all have to make sacrifices and smile at Auntie Jill, even though we know she's very annoying. We all have to do that one. But you've got to watch how much you're bending. Remember, you need to look after yourself. Sometimes we need to maybe even just drive to Auntie Jill's. So when we've hit our, I've had enough, you can leave. That's called wisdom. That's called self-protection. You have to learn to be your own best friend. It's your girl Key. Do take care of you, because if you don't, no one will.